What's going down? Welcome to 306 The Tangent. I'm Colin Davies and I'm here with guest speaker Josh, and I hope you enjoy the podcast. So, we're talking about the gorillas, the one that where the kid jumps into the gorilla cage, basically, and the gorilla basically grabs a hold of the kid.
Yeah.
And now everybody has an opinion, everybody knows it, and all of a sudden everybody becomes experts. We're about to become experts, Josh.
My favorite.
We are experts on how to trank a gorilla.
That Google PhD is paying off.
Oh yeah, we have the University of Google at our back.
YouTube doctorates.
Yeah. But basically, the whole debate is, well, should they have shot the gorilla and killed the gorilla? And then everybody's like, well, the kid is stupid. And then other people are saying the parents are stupid.
All of them are stupid. All of them. The kid, the fact that you have an open cage for a gorilla, a giant primate to begin with. They should also be in their own national parks, and if you want to see a fucking gorilla, go to Africa or wherever the hell the gorilla is.
Right.
To go see
So
it.
it's wrong to have a gorilla in a cage in the first place, is what you're saying. There should be no zoos.
I think if there is a zoo, it shouldn't be in a small confined space for an animal that's so used to living in such... it's the same issue with the dolphins and the whales in SeaWorld and stuff. It's just 90% of Earth is the ocean. That's what those whales are used to living in.
Yeah.
And you're keeping it in basically a bathtub for your pleasure as a human being.
Right.
And that's, to me, is stupid.
Right.
If anything, there should be underwater displays of migrational patterns for whales and dolphins and stuff. So you can, be the James Cameron of going in a submarine and watching it yourself.
Okay, but they say that, for the endangered species, some of them are alive because they're in they're in zoos, basically.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They're alive because of that.
Yeah.
You look at the plaque they have at the zoos, and it's this is endangered, and then this is now extinct in the wildlife, and that means
I can see the argument with poaching as an issue,
Uh-huh.
in that regard.
Right.
Right? It's just, I think in such a small space, confined space, it just seems kind of stupid.
Okay.
In reality, and especially a dangerous gorilla, the power to rip a human being apart, a grown man like yourself, in half with little effort, and then keeping it in a cage where children can jump off the railing and inside. And kids aren't smart, that's why we send them to school from the first place. That's why raising kids is so hard, because they are basically little animals.
Yeah.
Unable to understand the difference between right and wrong until you start teaching those principles.
Yeah.
Right?
But I thought that, what about the fact that the kid can jump in? Normally the zoos in Calgary, there is no entering. There is no getting.
Well, that's what I mean. Is
how
if you're going to confine an animal in a zoo to begin with, but not keep it completely enclosed,
right?
Then you're already asking for an incident. It's the same thing. The reason why we have seatbelts is because eventually, when cars got faster, you started flying out of them.
Right. So
tangent.
To go off on a tangent, basically, do you agree, though, that zoo should be sued?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Because they were skirting safety regulations.
But it's
if you're going to keep wild animals, but if you're going to keep wild animals in there, then that, regardless of how domesticated they are, no matter if they lived in that zoo all their life, they still have that instinct to behave like animals, wild animals.
Yeah.
And then what? You're gonna blame the parents for that? I mean, those parents are probably just as stupid as that kid.
Yeah, but you can't blame the. I don't think you should be blaming the zoo. I do not agree, because I think it goes back to that girl who burned herself on a cup of coffee. Well, I'm sorry, but you were the one that spilled the coffee. So the girl in the U.S., burned herself, and you know the story, and she got
I know the story, and I also know the
burns.
facts.
Okay.
And she only got $30,000 is from what I read from the case files, or she only got her medical bills paid for. She didn't make millions of dollars.
Right.
That's a lie.
Okay, well, let me explain what the story I heard was. The story I heard was she basically she spilled a cup of coffee. She basically went to court. They decided that it was 80% McDonald's fault, 20% her fault, and that she sued for $2 million because and she won because basically if you sue a large company like that for $30,000, they're not going to change the temperature. But it was enough for them to change the temperature of the coffee. So they said that's a great thing.
Was told that they didn't change the temperature. They added the warning "it's hot" label on the cup. There was no warning to display that the coffee was hot.
My University of Google is telling me that they basically changed it from, I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, but just a few degrees to the point where it doesn't give you third-degree burning.
I could see that, yeah.
Okay. The problem I have with that is basically, first of all, you're saying the woman, the blame does not, everybody goes, the blame is, it must not be the woman's fault, but she spilled the coffee. So you're saying if that's not the woman's fault, well, what does that teach us? It teaches us that let's blame this huge corporation and get millions off of it.
What I'm saying is that the blame is going around equally. There shouldn't be an 80 to 20% dividends in dividing of who's to blame. Everyone is to blame.
20%.
Every party is to blame in this.
Okay.
You know, but the thing is, safety regulations aren't put into play beforehand. They're always put into play after an accident happens. Every time. Like, we are a reactive species. We don't do anything unless something is done to us. That's how we work.
Okay.
You know, like, we didn't have safety harnesses for certain work conditions until somebody fell off a fucking roof and broke their neck or their leg. You know, and cost, you know, somebody sued whoever, you know, to pay for hospital bills.
Okay, but the problem now is that we have people just going around and suing. It's like they're money hungry. Like Eminem's mother, for example.
Yeah.
Sued, and then she's won, and I don't know how many, like 1 in 10. Well, that's enough to get millions. Like, so people are going after the money, basically.
But people will pollute ideals for their own personal gain, period. Like, that's a human trait as well. Yeah. Is that it's the second you show any form of charity towards a kid, and there's another group of kids over there looking for the same charity, and you give that kid a candy, they're going to run right up to you. Can I have some candy? Where's my candy? Why did you give that stupid kid candy? Where's my fucking candy?
Now you have everybody after it.
Yeah. And so it comes down to, like, how much do you give before they take everything that you have? Right?
They will take everything you have.
Yes, absolutely.
And I just think there should be something in place to prevent that. All I'm saying is there should be a maximum amount of times you sue. You should not be able to. If you're in my courtroom again, well, I'm going to just say no. That's all a judge has to say. Like,
but I know
somebody
that
just suing for
money.
Suing
costs money, lots of money. Lawyers don't come cheap. They don't come for you. They don't come to your aid for free unless.
Well, you got to spend money to make money.
True. So how much money did she have to begin with to sue him for those millions of dollars? And if that's the case, maybe a lawyer wanted a cut of that money. More than likely, did get a cut of that money, and was willing to forgive the debts in order to get that amount of money.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So it really comes down to the professional etiquette also of the professionals involved in the suing. You know, lawyers don't take cases just because of everything. Like, they'll take cases as long as they get paid.
Yeah, well,
they know that
they know they're going to win. Yeah. Well, they're going to take cases they know they win.
Yeah.
So you got a girl. She spills the cup of coffee.
It was an old lady, by the way.
Oh, okay, a lady. Yeah, excuse me. Sorry. And
semantics.
Yeah. I just the problem now also that I see is that now they lowered the temperature and they ruined the coffee for the rest of us. And there's some point there's going to be another lawsuit, and it's going to raise the temperature from 79 to 74, and then
Yeah.
you have a cup of coffee that's like.
Are you
lukewarm.
against drunk driving? Off on a tangent, but still related to the conversation.
No, go ahead. It's
Are
called
you-
the tangent for a reason.
But are you against drunk driving?
Yes.
You think driving drunk is wrong?
Yeah.
30, 40 years ago, it wasn't illegal to drink and drive. It just wasn't. You know,
You
people.
have the Google to prove this.
My dad is
Should we get
a
the phone?
walking evidence for that. He talked about how him and his friends, there was no seatbelt laws or anything like that.
Yeah.
Right? Like he was drinking and driving as a younger lad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how old he was. He's pretty up there now. But basically in the like 70s, late 60s, you could go around and have a drink while you're driving.
Yeah.
You know, and then eventually, and everyone was having fun and enjoying themselves while they're doing it.
Eventually, somebody crashed and killed somebody.
Under the influence,
Okay.
heavily drunk.
So what do you?
And so that ruins the fun for the rest of us.
Right.
But we now, living in this society, because we grew up with that regulation, we think that was wrong to begin with.
Right.
Right? So with her suing the company to the point where it ruins the coffee for the rest of us, that's just the nature of the beast of regulation. It really is. It only takes one dickhead to ruin everything for everyone else.
Okay, so let me ask you
But
this.
a lot lot of the time, sorry.
Let me ask you this. No, so let me, okay, good point. So the one person ruins it for the rest of us. You agree? I agree. Okay, so there should be no drunk driving. Yes, but let's say you were to make a boiling pot, right, of tea,
Yeah.
and you boiled that water and you spilled it on yourself with that kettle right there. We're in my kitchen, by the way. So
They don't need to know that. They heard the water run in the last podcast.
yeah. Well, you can hear the fridge. Okay, but now if you burned your hand because you spilled water on yourself,
Yeah.
should they lower the temperature of that that kettle for boiling water? Now I got you thinking a little bit, don't I?
I could understand that, but perhaps.
It's common sense to not burn yourself on a
But
cup of
common
coffee.
sense 200 years ago was to use leeches to take the bad blood out of your flu.
Okay, but that's a totally off tangent.
It's
there.
very
That's
tangent,
oh,
but
boy.
you're using common sense as a stable environment where it's not very stable at all, because common sense 1,000 years ago isn't common sense now. You know, so common sense is a very difficult thing to stand on as your argument. I'm just saying, if I burnt myself, there's probably a warning label somewhere in here.
Probably not.
Household use only. Caution, do not immerse in water because it's electrical.
Right.
You know, read instruction book before use. And
Right,
then the
it probably
instruction
says
book
there.
will probably say, caution for hot water, you could burn yourself.
Do you know why they have all those cautions?
Because some dickhead...
It's sued.
Yes!
Everybody's
but that's
getting
how it
sued.
works. That's how it works. Because sooner or later, somebody's going to find a way to... I used to work at Superstore, and we were told to bring those pallets that we unload all the groceries to load the groceries up back, because there's a lady in Fort McMurray, Alberta, that likes to walk around and try to trip herself on those pallets she can get money for it.
Okay.
Like, there's people out there that is their profession to try to sue people for shit.
So there should be some kind of, what about having like a preventative maintenance? You could sue somebody up to a maximum of 2 times. Then you're done.
The problem is, the current laws that I know of is that you have to have the money or be able to financially support that suing. That's what I know of.
But
I'm
if you
not a
sue when
law
you're
professor. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the truth about that. I'm also, I don't think personally that one individual should own more money than an entire country. Personally. But that doesn't mean that there's going to be a law that does that for us, right?
Well, there's a minimum wage. There's no maximum wage. But the reason why I'm okay with it is because let's say they have passed $100,000 here in this country, you're going to get taxed. So every dollar you make, you're only taking 60 cents.
Yeah.
After a certain 200, 300 grand, they're almost taking 50-50.
Oh,
so
yeah.
They're contributing to society. They're the person that owns Walmart is making that country the USA a lot of money.
Well, the USA doesn't have those tax laws the same as we do here.
Okay.
They have much lower tax rates, and you know, there's still people crying about too high taxes in America.
Right.
Here, a lot of people that make lots of money are pissed off about stuff like that.
Okay.
I know certainly.
We're more liberal, basically.
Oh, we are absolutely far
right.
more liberal. Even our conservatives are more liberal than the conservatives in the U.S.
Okay.
That is a guarantee. Because you don't see no conservatives walking around saying we should be have the same tax rates as the USA.
Right. I'm a very conservative dude.
Yeah.
I think that if that person
way of
is
describing yourself, dude.
I'm a little bit of liberal because I'm Canadian, but if that basically, I don't like sorry to say, I don't like the women that are just going out and complaining at the fact that there should be more money for education. Then somebody else should pay my bill, my educational bill. I just don't.
Are you talking about secondary education?
Yes.
Okay.
Now there's a point where I have to just say, when does it end? Like if somebody is making 200 grand, good for him. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
He's paying his taxes and they're very high for 200 grand.
Yeah.
That's contributing to society. He's paid his taxes. So at what point where are we gonna say, 40% at 200 grand is enough for me? They're basically gonna drive the price of, like, if you're making over 200 grand, we're gonna tax you 90%. That's the direction that they're heading with that. And I just don't. I think. When does it end?
Well, that's a very extreme endpoint that you're talking about.
Well, that's the direction they're getting. Like, when does it end? I mean, it's just gonna keep going. We've already lowered it enough for you. It's. I don't see an end in sight.
There's lots
I'm
of
worried about
social programs that people don't know about, and a lot of people ostracize people for using them. And so that makes them not want to do it because of those that are against the taxes and things like that.
Okay.
I know that lots of people don't want certain Native Americans to have their special cards to be able to go to college for free.
Hey man, I use my card.
Hey,
dude.
I'm not talking to you directly. I'm actually talking
compensated.
about a personal friend that it has. Every time I talk to him, it's, well, my dad tells me that I shouldn't, take advantage of the system. Why not? The system is there for you.
For the record, I went to school because I'm AT, and I have been my schooling paid for, basically.
And that's good. I think taking advantage of that and through the proper channels is good.
Right.
Absolutely.
They don't have. Do they have that in America? Or
no, I don't believe so.
No.
I don't think it's to the extent that we do.
Right. So if you're, so basically, now I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, but basically I took advantage of going to school and having it paid for. Now I can't say that it's worked out for me, and I've done well in my studies and I worked hard.
Yeah.
Now at the same time, for a lot of these natives that you're talking about, unfortunately, they get their grant money when they're 18.
Yep.
They get a lot of money, and they get their housing and tax breaks here and there, and the casinos tax breaks, and then they go and they blow it on. Unfortunately, I hate to say, like, they blow it on alcohol. Let's just get honest here.
Or drugs.
Let's be honest.
Drugs and alcohol.
Or drugs and alcohol. Majority of it's going towards drugs and alcohol. What lessons are we teaching?
Alcohol is pretty high tax, so all that money's going back to the system.
Yeah, but we're getting
Luckily.
if we want to get into it, that's going into, should alcohol even be legally? If we're going that direction, it's like, well, what
we have tried prohibition before, and that's helped support.
Not tried. The USA has tried it. Yeah.
Well, okay. When I talk about the experimentation of prohibition, that created a massive increase in the mob.
Okay.
That's how the mob gained huge powers.
So we're
history.
just gonna say alcohol's okay?
If we make things to the point where on the black market they're more prevalent, then we're just going to put money into the hands of criminals even more so. That's the reality of it. Do you know that a good portion of drug money eventually lands up back into the funds of Al-Qaeda and terrorist organizations? That is fact.
Mm-hmm.
that our illegal drug use in this country, because it's unregulated.
Oh, because of opium.
Not just opium, but like the criminal empires. How do you launder that money? To bring it to other criminal empires that know how to launder money, and most of the bigger criminal empires are terrorist organizations on the international world stage, and then it eventually all pulls back into funding terrorism in the world.
Right.
So even anyone's drug use is basically is a tax for terrorism in a basic principle of it. And that's, if we regulated it to the point where it's no longer considered an illegal substance and our government takes control of it and taxes it, then that money goes to our government to help fend off the forces of terrorism and criminal behavior.
So you think that weed should be legal in this country?
Yes.
And you should use that money and tax it?
Yes.
Yeah, tax
absolutely.
it and then use the money.
Absolutely. And then put it towards the social issues that we have today, like mental health.
But I think, though, what about the people that would not normally smoke weed, would probably smoke weed?
There's a statistic in Amsterdam, legal in the Netherlands, where the second they legalized marijuana, the percentage rate of teenagers using marijuana went down.
Because it's not cool anymore.
Because it's no longer considered a rebellious act anymore. That's the reason why kids do stupid shit. Isn't because that they're addicted to begin with.
Right.
It's because they want to rebel against the society that they're in.
So let's talk about something we disagree on. Like, that's something I would almost agree with you on. But it's we went on a tangent from the Indians. And how
Natives.
we're politically correct.
Well,
okay, that's a whole nother debate.
If you want to call them Indians, then you're being an asshole because you're basically perpetuating the racial.
Hey, I'm lady. Okay.
And I know that. That's why I want you to be correct on your own racial profile.
I always get in trouble when I say that to my fiancée.
I just think if you want to be educated, be educated.
Okay, so we're basically, you don't agree that, you agree that we should be kind of have social programs for them and we should be funding them to be going on.
Yes.
Okay, I disagree with that. That's why I wanted to talk about it.
If they don't have those avenues, because there's other social issues that we have, like racism. It is a real thing. Racism wouldn't be a real thing. If it wouldn't be a real thing, we wouldn't have the word racism.
Right.
We wouldn't have prejudice. We wouldn't have bigotry. We wouldn't have people, and this type of stuff happens both ways as well. If a white guy like me walked into a reserve, I would not be treated very nicely. If I walked through Mexico past the
resorts,
I would be robbed.
Okay.
Because I'm white and I display that whiteness of wealth. I'm from a wealthy country and they're not well off, so they're going to come up to me with a knife or a gun and say, "Give me your fucking watch." And that's just the racial profiling of that situation. If I was Mexican or Spanish or darker skin that I went through Mexico off a resort, on a percentage level, I would not be stopped. Very little.
Okay, but so the thing is though, if we are just supplying the natives with money and stuff, whether they're white or they're green or they're black, I just think that we're not basically teaching them life lessons. We're just basically saying, here you go, we'll be your daddy from now on, and we're just gonna give you money. And they're not learning their life lessons, and there's a high suicide rate and there's a high alcoholism rate. And
certainly,
what do we do about? I don't think the problem is the suicide and the alcohol and all that. The problem is they're not learning education, and
they're not getting the proper education. But it's a big issue with some social programs as well. That some social programs put people in a position where they think that if they get better or claw out of those social programs, they don't receive those social programs anymore. Like, I know a few Native friends of mine that their parents didn't want them to leave the reserve to go to a better school because they're telling them then you'll have to pay more money. You know,
Right.
like if you want to save your money, you know, but that doesn't help them in the long run because they're not going to get the proper education of society to live in society. They're
And that
always
doesn't give them
gonna-
a fair chance.
and
They're
it doesn't
almost
give them a fair
decided-
chance. Exactly.
Their fate is decided by their parents.
Yeah.
But at some point, they're going to have to learn to educate themselves. I mean, we can't be there educating. We tried that. We sent them to our schools, and that turned out horribly.
There's
In Canada,
also a historical evidence that we racially hurt them.
Yes.
And really abused the fuck out of them.
yeah. So that happened.
You know, so it goes both ways. It's not like
Okay, so I don't think
tried.
we tried educate. Okay, that educating them that doesn't work. Okay.
No, it
What,
does.
what
work,
about this?
But the way it's done is important because
How could you say it works? Like it works.
it does work, but you're basically saying that we tried to educate them and it didn't work. But the way we educated them was beat them
Right.
and abuse them. And if that's the only way we can educate someone how to be proper citizens in a society, then I'm sorry to say, but that philosophical view is already tainted.
Yeah, but I'm saying they need to be able to educate themselves. They need to be able to feed themselves. They need to be able to do things for themselves. And if we're just giving them money and forcing them into schools, that's not doing that.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, that's creating more problems. And I just, at what point we just got to shut that down? Is what I think. Just no more. As harsh as it sounds, no more money. What do you think of that? Like no more education. You're here. I mean, we took over your country a long time ago, and we didn't treat you very well back then. But that's all over now. At some point, you're gonna have to get out of this funk, and we have to just grow up and take life by the horns and just learn. You know, and there's too much resentment built up in their culture. I'm sorry to say, there's some resentment there, and that's just gonna hold you back. That's going to hold them back, not us.
That we would also have to take the life by the horns and stop putting them down. And what I'm saying is that if we take that money away, but white people will still call them native assholes and kick them to the dirt and not hire them or anything like that. Like we also have to swallow our pride in order for that system to work.
But you're talking about bullying, like basically
Certainly.
You're a native asshole. Well, thank you. I am a native. Like, fuck off. Like, why they got to learn how to do that? Like, they can't just hold that resentment in.
It's resentment goes both ways.
We're not resentful. We're doing all
we're
right.
pretty resentful
About
towards each other. Like not.
I'm talking about like Native Americans.
Oh, resentful. Yeah, Native American. But I'm saying like
They're
like,
resentful.
Caucasians are resentful too, and make sure that they get resented by other cultures as well. Like we are, being as white as I am, like my Caucasian friends, I have a lot of racist friends, and they're like,
We are in Alberta.
White is right, be right, be right.
Right.
You know, and
Right.
it's just like I'm better than everyone else because my skin is lighter than everyone else's.
Right.
You know, if that doesn't stop, then even cutting off the social funding isn't going to help them. In fact, it's going to make it worse off. And that's just truth.
Okay, but now, if I were to bully...
Now, if there was...
Go ahead. Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
but if
No,
there
it's
was certain social fundings that was created as an incentive to get those benefits, meaning that if you worked hard and get your education, then we'll pay it off, or things like that. Like, but you have to take the effort to get there first.
They do have that in place a little bit.
They do a little bit.
I know
But
from
it's
personal
slow.
experience. Yeah. Okay, so I just don't. There's just one thing I don't agree with, and I just would like to explore a little bit. How if I were to?
I think there's a lot of things you don't agree with.
And it was something that you said about bullying, and you're thinking that, well, the bullier should be the one to stop. And you were talking about how white people get their way, and they're going around like
Lots of people bully
they're
each
racist.
other.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
bullying each other. Basically, I sum that up as bullying bullshit, because if I were to bully somebody there's always going to be a bully. Now, there's always going to be a bully in your life at work. There's going to be a bully in your life at school. When you're growing up, unfortunately, this is everybody's fighting for dominance in this world, especially for men. Now, I learned in my experience.
There's a lot of women that fight for
yes,
dominance
it's true,
too.
but just let me flow with this, Josh. You'll see where I'm going with it.
Okay.
So if I were to learn how to deal, I actually had to learn how. I was bullied, and I had to learn that. Like, let's say they made fun of I couldn't pass grade 5 in math or whatever, and so some guy at work said, "Oh, like I couldn't add a couple numbers up," and he's like, "What are you, a fucking idiot? You can't add these basic numbers." And I owned up to that, and I said, yeah, I failed grade 5 math, and it just ended. Like, it was just, there was no more to push. Now, if I were to get all defensive, then those guys would have eaten me alive. This was at the oil field workplace, right? So they would have eaten me alive.
Yeah.
I had to learn myself how to deal with that, and I don't think I would have learned if somebody was to be like, let's punish the bulliers and that's it. Let's just, I mean, I know it's harsh as it is today to say that, but at some point it had to toughen me up a little bit because I was insecure about my math, and now I'm no longer insecure about it. I stopped the problem in its tracks, and I said, you know what, I suck at math. Big deal. So, it just ended. No more bullying about the math.
My response to that would be that your mindset for how other people should learn what you learned on your own is a form of bullying itself. Okay. And that you're just transcending that, or not transcending, but you're just basically displaying a certain bully attribute by saying, learn it yourself. Mm-hmm. Whereas what you could be doing with what you learned on your own is educate others to manage that bullying. And you could actually be the one to help other kids manage their bullying at an earlier age and stop that cycle before it happens, before that kid thinks that suicide is the only answer.
I am helping by sharing my story, though.
Well, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm sharing honestly, like, okay, yes, I do think it's kind of cruel for me to say you should just learn it on your own, but however, what do you think is more effective? Like, I think more effectively you get rid of the problem would lie in the kids that are a little weaker and they're getting bullied for it, or they're a little fatter or whatever. That's the problem, because the bullying part isn't going to stop. I said you're going to get bullied at work, so if you stop it in schools, it's going to happen. You didn't learn to deal with it properly, and then at work you grow up and then you're older. The problem doesn't go away.
But learning to deal with it properly is a form of education, and then there should be better educational programs, not just to punish the bully, but to have, like, how to deal with negative people in school would be a great educational program. That's just the truth.
You're a smart man. You're a smart guy. But
I've been bullied many times as well.
Well, I don't think that it's an educational problem. I think it's a weak problem. Like, you're not strong. So you got to
But how do you make something strong?
You find out where your insecurities lie, and you
and
admit
if you're
that.
too weak to do that on your own,
it's a problem. The cycle will continue. Yes.
Yes. So if you have a mentor to educate you and train you, like if you train,
but it's educate or to strengthen. Like, I don't know if
education is a form of training, but it's required by both the mentor and the student to become stronger in that field, right? And like, our education system sucks, period.
Our education system sucks.
Our education, by our standards, sucks.
Compared to...
Like, what I mean by that is that our education system, and there's lots of TED Talks about this and studies about this, that it hasn't changed since the industrial age, the way things work in our education system. It's still the same 200-year-old standard education system. The content is different because there's more information and more discoveries due to science and things like that, but the way it is being provided to children is still the same it's been for 200 years. And so that's something that we need to focus on already. The second part is, if you tried to learn martial arts yourself, with no master or
Right.
black belt yourself, you're never actually going to be a martial artist. That's just the truth. You need a teacher, and you need a good one. You know, if you don't have a good teacher, you go look for a better teacher.
All
You know,
right.
but not everyone has those same opportunities. You know,
Right.
like you may be a very fit guy,
Right.
but in a fight, since you don't have fighting technique and somebody does,
Right.
chances are you're not going to last as long as you think you will. That's just the truth.
So I like the analogy of that, but well, what would the form take for guys that are being bullied
There should be certain
or girls? Yeah.
Well, there should be certain programs that first tell them how to deal with it in constructive ways, and then also have experimentation where they get put through it.
Huh.
So it's a little bit of both. You can't just tell somebody how to, like somebody who's read how to fix an airplane in a book, but he's never touched a tool in his life, is never gonna fucking know how to fix that airplane. He needs to have that book next to him as he's looking at the design and, you know, hurting his hand a little bit. Oh, I gotta do it this way. I should probably put my arm here so I don't hurt myself next time.
You're talking about what about like a role model?
Yeah, lots of role models. There needs to be better role models as
Right.
well.
Because I know for myself, like the way I got out of that whole bullying bullshit is basically I admitted to my sponsor from AA
Yeah.
that I have been having some problems at work about bullying, and this was recently. And he said, and it was a guy that was kind of being a real dick.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, you know, let's, he would just put me down, like, you know, just kind of saying unnecessary stuff and then going like, well, like, I only get mad at you because you're doing something stupid or something like that. And whether I was or not, it was just hurtful what he said, right?
Yeah.
So I was like pretty pissed about it, and then I called my sponsor and he said, well, let's find out where you're insecure, like, because you wouldn't be talking to me if you weren't insecure.
Yeah.
Even when he's talking to you like that, even the smallest insecurities can come out. So I don't,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not weak. I still have some insecurities, and that made me think, bring it on. Like I want to work with this guy again and again,
Yeah.
so I could find out where I'm insecure.
Yeah.
That kind of attitude is a winning attitude.
That's a very hard one because
If I didn't have that sponsor, though, which I don't know what would be the form for today's kids because I don't have all the answers, but there should be some kind of dude that just tells you how to be a man. Like,
what I do know, that's why there's school counselors now.
Well-
There never used to be school counseling before.
my
there's-
faith in that is kind of, well,
But,
okay, go on.
you know,
Go on.
like, the system isn't perfect, but
Yeah.
it's getting better slowly.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing that a lot of people seem to forget is that change isn't instant. Instant change is usually through violence, and that's when instant change happens. Like a lot of people want to have a revolution of the system. What's the new system going to be?
Right.
I don't know. I just want to fight the system. Well, that's not changing the system at all. You're just changing the vacuum of power, the consolidation of power.
Right.
Right? So in that sense, like education, I know now there's lots of different programs being, especially my sister's a teacher, she tells me that there's different education programs slowly starting to come into the education system to help deal with these issues. But slowly. Like and the problem is that this generation of kids, the next generation of kids, the next 3 generations after that of kids are not going to benefit from that change yet. You know, it's going to be almost 20 generation of kids before we actually see some real change in this issue.
That is a long time.
Absolutely. But that's how it works right now. Like all these problems that we have is going to take 20, 30 years. You won't even see a difference in your lifetime, in your kid's lifetime, more than likely,
Right.
until that change happens.
Right.
But nothing will change if we don't start changing it now.
Now, yeah. Well, good point, sir. Has been a good talk. This has been 306.
The tangent!